Okay, now let's switch gears and focus on week 2 of the Premier League season. Let's focus on the big one, Chelsea against Tottenham Hotspur. The small matter of a big London derby. Both these teams have big aspirations this season. Tottenham look a little bit further ahead than Chelsea in their project, if you're asking me right now. This is massive. I mean, what are we expecting Nick Mendola from these two heavyweights and Antonio Conte going back to Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel and some of the new players he's trying to fit into the system? It's going to be a really fun game, isn't it?
It is. And to me, it's there's a lot of KVK here. You've got Payne going up against Koulibaly. And I was really impressed. This is a player in Kalidou Koulibaly who we have been discussing potentially becoming a Premier League player for 5-6 years. I mean, he's really been the guy who no one could pry off of his club. And when you talk about Kane, it's not just him winning the ball in the air or getting the ball in space. It's when he gets in ball to space, how harassed is he going to be? Because he does pretty well holding it up as well. And we just talked about the depth in attack that Tottenham has and the depth in pieces. And with all due respect to Thomas Tuchel, watch him surprise us here. This is one of those games why I favor Tottenham to be a dark horse to stay in the title fight, and why I think they'll finish third ultimately, because Antonio Conte is going to have a unique way of attacking this Chelsea team.
Andy, do you agree with that? Because everyone's saying Tottenham are the big favourites ahead of this one, the way they play. It just might find the gaps in this Chelsea team that's still kind of new look in a lot of different places. So if they are the favourites, why would they be going into this game this weekend?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's way too early in the season for a game like this. I don't know what the schedule makers are playing at with this. I'm not prepared for this. And I think there's no game on the schedule, or there's no matchup, I guess, no opponent that I look forward to less every season for Spurs than Chelsea. City, whatever, Liverpool, whatever, Arsenal, come on, bring it. But Chelsea has just been, call them whatever you want, bugaboo team, the kryptonite. It has been the team that I think has consistently made Tottenham feel and look small as a club. The way that they have just batted them aside in so many big games, whether it's cup finals, I can think of the League Cup final, whether it's coming down the end of the season and Spurs are trying to make a serious push for the title, you got to go to the bridge and you just get smacked around. It's always been Chelsea. And so it feels like, I don't know, what are you going to go with, the form, or are you going to go with the narrative? I think the narrative is that Chelsea spoil, obviously, what should be a strong start to the season for Spurs, because that's what they always do. But you've got one of the guys who's done it to Spurs now in charge of Spurs, and Antonio Conte. I feel like Spurs, for the first time, have the better manager of the two clubs. I think they've got the better squad. I think they've got the better understanding of how they want to play. Absolutely everything points towards Spurs. And I'm here to tell you, it will not be that easy when they actually take the field, because it is never that easy against Chelsea. And whatever it is about them, that is the one team that I feel like Spurs, if they can get over that hurdle, if they can kind of, signify their dominance over a Chelsea team and to do it at Stamford Bridge, I think that would be the best sign, the biggest litmus test passed for this team. I think, especially so early in the season.
I'm going to be at Stamford Bridge on Sunday, and I cannot wait for this atmosphere, because there is a different vibe when Tottenham and Chelsea are both expected to be doing well or are doing well in a season and they clash. There's such a rivalry there, like you said, Andy, and Tottenham usually have come out on the wrong end of it over the years. So it feels like the tide is changing, though, in London. Tottenham are now the team that everyone expects is going to finish top of Arsenal and Chelsea, and they've moved ahead purely because of what Conte built towards the second half of last season, how they finished, and then what they've added over the summer with that continuity. And I feel like for Chelsea, it's a weird situation because Thomas Tuchel has obviously been there for longer, but it's a rebuild in the sense, right? Because of the ownership change, the new players coming in, the players they still don't know who are going to arrive, some of the players who have left. And it's a big moment early in the season for both of these teams to almost set up the tone of, where are we at? How good are we? Because even no matter how often you say it's early in the season, we shouldn't judge teams. A game like this and a big positive result or a big negative result can really set the tone for the next few months at the very least. So I'm looking to see who grasps the opportunity who really goes in. Chelsea got extra experience in these big games, but Tottenham have the momentum, it feels like. Andy, jump in.
And to go back to something Nick said this week about Erik ten Hag, I think there's potential for Tuchel to have this game to point to say, hey, look, I need the players. And he was asked about it after the game on the weekend, and he kind of danced around it a little bit and didn't come out and, because it would be seen as criticism of his boss, of the owner of the club. But I think this game could, if it goes the way that we're talking, then it could really highlight, how much Chelsea really need to do in the transfer window between now and when the window closes. And if they neglect that, or if they just get the signings wrong, I think it could be, it could start to snowball on them pretty quickly. And then this season could start to get pretty ugly the way that it has at United the last few years.
Look, Tuchel's not, we mentioned this last week, he's not Bowley's hire. Bowley took over. It's now a year removed from the Champions League triumph. The one thing I'll say, though, is I do not expect Chelsea to get blown out this year. I don't think you're going to see that sort of statement game. Keeping Azpilicueta around was really smart. I know they needed some help from Barcelona's wage bill, but this guy is going to make sure everybody knows what it means to be in that room. And let's face it, Joe made a point maybe 2 weeks ago that has really stuck with me. They've got a midfield one healthy with Conte and Kovacic, who are just not going to be bypassed. And they're going to possess the ball from time to time. So I think they need to sort out their attack. You know who Thomas Tuchel could really use? A guy like Romelu Lukaku, but we know that didn't work out. It didn't work out for him, and so I think there is a lot of pressure on the manager to start getting some results from games like this. And if he doesn't, especially being at home, well, look out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, tactically, they both play three at the back, but very different styles, very different systems. Tottenham, great on the counter-attack, are willing to let opponents have the ball for long periods, which Chelsea like to do. But for Chelsea, for me, there's just... The game against Everton is difficult because Everton was sitting in and just hanging on. But there's a lot of times you switch on and watch Chelsea and just see the sideways passing, almost monotonous. They try and send the other teams to sleep. And Raheem Sterling is going to be huge for them, I think, this season in breaking that up. Nick, you were a big fan of his performance at the weekend, and what he just brings in those little pockets of dropping a bit deeper and picking up space and picking the ball and driving at defenses, I think is the perfect kind of player they needed to spark their attack into life after, Werner, Havertz, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, Lukaku, none of that working, none of the combinations really, really working consistently for Thomas Tuchel. But now I want to see who is going to join Sterling in that attack, right? Who are the players who are going to be running in behind? Is it going to be Havertz? Is it going to be Pulisic? Is it going to be Mason Mount? I didn't see enough of that against Everton. Maybe energy was slightly lacking, or the ideas are still working out with Sterling coming into the team. But tactically, I'm really looking forward to that and seeing if he can drag out Romero or Dyer or one of those Tottenham centre-backs there into those gaps. And they don't really want to be there, but they're going to have to come out to him, I think, because you cannot let Raheem Sterling just run at you if you have those players making key runs off it. But tactically, Andy, I mean, what are the key battles in this game? Nick mentioned there, midfield, Kante against Højbjerg or Bentancur. There's some really key individual battles, but I feel like we talk about Spurs Chelsea, Harry Kane is usually in the conversation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he's had a few struggles against Chelsea over the years. It's not a team like when he plays against Arsenal, he always seems to score and turn it on. They seem to have had his number. So him against Koulibaly or one of the other, Thiago Silva, one of the other centre-backs, that's where I think this game is going to be won or lost.
Yeah, I think pretty good in his career early on against Chelsea. And then recently, I think since they've had a few managers that played a back three, I think there have been more struggles from him. And I think that's a pretty good way of kind of forcing him into just a playmaker role, and you almost take the goal threat out of him. That was okay when it was just Son making runs off of him, but now it's Kulusevski, and there's the quality of Bentancur in the middle, and there's obviously the depth still to come into there's just, I don't know. I'm not, as we're talking about it, I'm trying to talk myself through, okay, well, here's where Chelsea could really have some control of the game and where they could dominate, and they could, and I'm struggling to find those areas, because even when Spurs want to carry the ball out of defense, which you would think, well, of course, a Tuchel team is going to be really good at causing them problems. I think their midfield is getting very slow, very unathletic, and losing the ability to press. I think Conte, I think this is the season, and it's going to be a big fall off, I think, for N'Golo Kante, I should say, not Antonio Conte. I think this is going to be the season where we see some decline from him, and I think that's going to have a lot of effects on this Chelsea team. And so, I can't find a way for Chelsea to do this other than the fact that it's Tottenham versus Chelsea in this one.
The only area I'm looking at is Sessegnon down. He's been really good, but down that flank there, is this a game where Perisic plays because of his extra experience, something like that? I feel like with Reece James and Mount obviously gravitating towards that side, they might have a bit of joy. Sessegnon is great going forward, but I still have some question marks defensively about him sometimes. So that might be a key area. Nick, I mean, is it too early? We said about it being a litmus test and all the rest of it, but is it too early to say how the season will go for both these teams, if it's a positive or negative result? How important is this massive London derby this early in the season?
Too early for Chelsea.
Okay.
But if Tottenham goes into Chelsea and wins, it's not too early to be very excited about what they've done. A decisive win against Saints, coupled with a let's call it a derby, right? Let's call it what it is. It's become one of the biggest fixtures on the list. We've seen fights in this game. You don't sign up to be a part of either one of these teams and not find out on the way to the game or well before it how important this is going to be, how physical it's going to be. So Chelsea, I think, is going to be fine when it all shakes out. Whether they enter the top four is going to be another discussion. But Tottenham, I mean, there's every reason to get excited. It doesn't mean they're going to be in the discussion to win the league, but if you can go in and beat Chelsea at Chelsea, you're in business. You're in business, and I am really excited for this game. Because I think it asks a lot of questions of Thomas Tuchel. Because if there was ever a reason to try maybe a 3-4-3 or something, it's this situation. And he's not necessarily a guy who goes away from what he wants to do.
Let's see. It's going to be a cracker. I'm going to be there at Stamford Bridge on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff. We'll have you covered here on Pro Soccer Talk at NBCSports.com with analysis, reaction, videos, stream links, whatever you want from this massive London derby. Will have you covered. Gents, it's been a pleasure this week for Pro Soccer Talk. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you soon, very indeed. And one final thing, it is great to have the Premier League back. Speak to you soon.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.